And hello, and welcome to something a little bit different, right, Mike? A little different, a little out of our wheelhouse, I guess you could say.
It is and it isn't. These are
Yeah.
kind of things that me and Creed stumble upon in our off time when we're doing non-show related things. And this is one of the things that Creed had brought to my attention over the weekend. Let me preface all this by saying, firstly, Creed and I are not investigators. Creed and I have no inside knowledge,
No,
nor are we accusing anyone of anything. All we are doing is bringing you all the information we know,
right.
and we will touch on some allegations that are going on out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of alleged things that are going on, a lot of things that are confirmed to be going on,
Right.
and a lot of moving parts. So,
When you say a lot of moving parts, he means about a million.
about a million moving parts. But the story all begins with the church Solid Rock there in Myrtle Beach and its pastor and his wife.
Yes, that's where it begins. We were trying to figure out the exact date of her death, which we believe is the 28th.
Yeah, 28th, 27th, somewhere around there of April.
Yeah.
And
so
I mean, I don't know if it's been exactly determined when it happened.
It's very fresh. The whole story is very, very fresh. Every minute there is some new craziness or alleged things coming out about this. But I think where we need to start out at is yes, they were married. She allegedly unalived herself about 90 minutes away. This is the first kind of strange instance here.
Yeah,
That it was 90 minutes away from Myrtle Beach. They have very deep connections to Myrtle Beach. So the fact that it's 90 minutes away up in Lumberton, North Carolina, Robinson County to be exact, at the state park, no less.
the Lumber River State Park, which is, if you're thinking beautiful state park, like you're thinking this is more of a very wooded area for like fishermen and stuff like that to go and get into the river and go fish and things. It's very it's not like you're thinking like a state park you would just go to for casualness. The question is, this is a very far away from where she lives. I don't believe there's any connection with this area as of yet.
Nobody said any, and I find that very interesting. Yeah, kind of our true crime edition today.
Something like that. Yeah.
A little different. Yeah, so that is an interesting piece to this puzzle. And you guys got to understand, today hit Good Morning America. It's going to blow up. And it kind of already has. If you put in the hashtag justice for Mica or justice for Mica Miller, you'll see even just on Facebook. I don't do any TikTok. I know that many people get all of their news, everything from TikTok. I'm too old for that, Cindy Lou. I don't know. By the way, thank you guys for joining us. Hope you had a great weekend.
And really quick, want to touch on, if anyone sends a dono or anything like that, we will read all those at the end out of respect for what we're doing here.
Right.
Try and be a little more informative. Take this because it is a very serious matter.
Very much so.
Very serious.
She lost her life, whether it was from unaliving herself
right.
or
right.
crazy.
So, and again, like we showed the message at the beginning, if you are having any kind of dealing with anything like thinking of hurting yourself or know somebody might be trying to hurt themselves, there's plenty of places to reach out to where you can get help. Now, this is a pretty big pastor. He's not, this isn't some small church. This is a pretty good sized church.
Yeah, it is.
There in the area, pretty well known for by the congregation and the surrounding area, the stuff they do for the community. And his wife, Mica, was a big part of it. There are a lot of things moving around about the pastor, Mr. Jean Paul, or JP as some knew him. He's charismatic, while some say at the same time being a narcissist. there are people, making a lot of claims. Now, from what the coroner there in Lumberton said, now, if you're not familiar with Lumberton, North Carolina, it has a very storied history for being not the greatest place on earth. Not only from
No.
possibilities of corruption up and down the government and the mistreatment of the Lumbee Indians in their past, but it's also a lot of crime. A lot of you could be more familiar with Lumberton if I tell you, hey, have you seen that Burger King video where the guy runs the dude over with his truck? Well, that happened in Lumberton, North Carolina.
Was that in Lumberton? I didn't know that.
Yes.
I've been through the drive-through at that at the Burger King. That's really weird that you bring that up. Excuse me for just a moment. I actually remembered what I ordered there. And it's just so many years ago.
Yeah.
It was when they came out with the tray of sliders. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I do remember that well.
Oh, I didn't know that was out of.
So a lot of people that are thinking, I have no idea what you're talking about, Mikey. That's where it's most famous for at this point in time. It's not a great place. No one has ever sat down and said, I would love to go vacation and spend some time alone in Lumberton.
No, but you bring up vacation. Anybody who lives up north or have ever traveled to Myrtle Beach, you've probably went through Lumberton because 95 trail goes right down through there just before you get to south of the border. That beautiful place.
So again, this is quite the distance from where she resided, and you said she was known in the area that's where her roots were.
Myrtle Beach, yeah. Sockasty, as a matter of fact, where I lived for quite a few years, which is a Myrtle Beach address. It's an area of Myrtle, just outside of what they call the back gate, which is actually Market Common. It's another thing that'll annoy me throughout this whole thing is everybody calling it Market Commons, like Aldi's Market Common. Anyways, I lived right outside of Market Common. It's an old Air Force base that has been turned into an area that was supposed to be built basically so you can live, eat, play, shop in that area, basically. And it borders the Myrtle Beach Airport. One end is the Atlantic Ocean. Other end would be the start of Sockasty. She went to school there, was Miss Sockasty. Her roots, both of their roots in Myrtle Beach, very strong, as they say in the court world. I think that the best thing to do, we're going to talk about JP, the pastor. We're going to also see some video from JP and something where things just really start to get kind of crazy. And
let's preface this by saying we're going to watch a news story first from the area,
right?
That covered her death. All this is her funeral was just a remembrance or whatever you want to call it. Just did that yesterday.
Both of them yesterday. Another piece of the timeline. Yesterday there was some people were calling it a protest. I don't know how that falls. It was a gathering of people, and it wasn't just for Mike. It was also for domestic violence awareness as well.
Right, because there's a lot of, we're not going to get into a ton of rumors, but there are a ton of rumors out there that there's so much stuff we don't know that was going on in this seemingly wonderful couple that were on top of the world, living the dream.
Paul, this is part of it. There has not been, listen, out of Lumberton and out of Robinson County, there hasn't been much at all. We'll get into a little bit about, there are some talks from there is a reporter that has some respect in the area that has kind of some inside knowledge with people that showed up that had to do with her and being there. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's watch this and we'll get into.
Yeah, we're not going to interrupt it. We're going to just watch it all the way through so you can and then we'll talk about it.
Death of a local pastor's wife. ABC 15's Mike Owen has been working for you to learn more about the life and death of Mica Miller. He joins us now live outside their church in Market Common. So, Mike, what have you learned today?
Micah's friends tell me that she led women's ministry and worship right here at Solid Rock Church. While the death investigation is ongoing, her friends can't believe she's gone and they want answers. But her husband tells me she had a long struggle with mental illness. Mica Miller died last week in the Orem community. The investigation into her death started at Lumber River State Park on Saturday. The Robeson County Sheriff's Office says they're actively investigating how the 30-year-old died. Her friends remembering how she lived her life.
Had a heart for missions. When she went to Africa this time, she just fell in love. That was her heart. She'd do anything for anybody.
She's survived by her husband, the pastor at Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach. He says Mica dreamed of opening up a school in Africa and was always giving to others.
She was probably the greatest wife anyone could ask for. She was incredibly affirming. We spent every night together for hours, just talking and talking and talking.
Miller says her death was a suicide, but a cause of death has not been released. But many of her friends are struggling to come to terms with that.
This has to be at least looked into deeply. There's got to be some accountability here because it's a tragic life was lost, and it's not just as simple as somebody had some mental issues.
But Miller says Mica battled mental health issues for years, even speaking openly about it to the congregation.
She had struggled with suicide before, and each time, helped her through it, took her to her doctor, and we got through it, and everything was fine. And she even gave a few testimonies here at church. We have on video of times where she had battled suicide, but God took care of her and got her through it.
For families dealing with mental health issues, the pastor at Solid Rock Church has a message.
The second you see any type of sign, get them to a doctor. The second you see it, don't wait.
A memorial for Mica will be held this Sunday at 3 p.m. at Solid Rock Church. A group of her friends will also be meeting there at 9 a.m. to hold a Justice for Mica rally to bring awareness to her struggles. Connor, back to you.
Okay, so look. Okay, so we can discuss a lot to talk about right there. Now,
when that came out, it's in the very, very beginning of all this. Not many people knew what was going on. We hadn't really heard much from the family either. We're gonna dip into something that was posted today on X. That is from the sister, and there's a couple of very crazy things in there. But from what we just saw, I think where you were going, Mike, I didn't mean to overstep you. There was some strange things that he said that he seems to crowbar in, and I think that you'll see throughout some of the videos and different things that we're going to look at, that he makes sure that you're well aware that she had a lot of mental issues, that this is an ongoing issue and an ongoing problem. One big thing that he speaks about is that she's on lithium, and that it's not easy to get, and that apparently she's been allegedly been off of her meds for following days before this incident happened up in Lumberton. And he crowbars that in any chance he gets.
Now, two things I want to touch on that we saw there. One, how you see him talking about how, they spent every night together talking and whatnot. Now, there's some things we're going to talk about in a few minutes that are going to kind of you think, well, is that really true? Is that a fact? Were things as hunky-dory as he makes them out to be there? And the other thing that I find interesting, at the end, the newscaster is telling us there's going to be a memorial service, and there's going to be a Justice for Mica rally. Right. Now, typically, you don't have rallies and ask for justice for someone unless there is a huge sentiment that what happened isn't possible. I'm not saying that there was any foul play. I'm just saying these are all the things that are out there right now. These are all the things that are being looked at because of all the other moving parts. If this had been just, something that didn't have all these other underlying things, I think maybe it would not have become the story it is. But there are so many other things that are coming out now from her friends, her family, even herself on her own Facebook, things that she had posted that we're not going to get into now, but that seemed to lend itself to talks of abuse, allegedly.
And also, there's talks of the divorce. There's talks of. There's also talks
Being
of
separated.
being separated for a while. Her leaving the church. By the way, that's another.
Her leaving him.
Her leaving him and getting her life in order to the point where friends and family point out a lot of things in the days leading up again to her death that she had plans. She was getting money around for her car payment that she was a little bit behind on. She's getting her hair did. She was scheduled to work that night. There was more to that, but I also say, when you guys go into this rabbit hole, and when you guys go and do your own investigating and looking through the videos and the TikToks, however you consume this, you'll come across her videos that Mikey's alluded to. There's quite a few of them where she certainly does not come off as somebody that
was going to do something like this.
Going to do what she allegedly did last week.
Now, another thing that I think we should probably go ahead and do this now.
Mm-hmm.
We just seen the words from her husband and whatnot. He seemed to hold it together pretty good for that, I would say. I know I would not be able to do the same as him. I'm sure most people wouldn't be able to hold it together like that. But maybe a little bit of time has passed and it's allowed him to deal with it a little bit. You know, this all happened in the last week.
Right.
But as you heard there, you're talking about on Saturday this happened.
Mm-hmm.
He was made aware of it. We're guessing in the early morning hours of Sunday. Not exactly sure. All we have is him going before the church on Sunday, doing his entire sermon, everything, top to bottom.
To see that. By the way, there's a couple of videos that I saw that were from that sermon that we're going to watch the end of here in just a second.
Mm-hmm. The part where he finally touches on this important matter.
At the end of everything. During it, there's lots of jokes, there's lots of smiles, there's lots of, like, nothing happened. And that's a bit odd. Everybody deals with things in their own way. We'll give them that. But when we get to this part, at the end of the sermon, this is pretty interesting.
This is what is given for his wife. We're going to watch it, and then we'll discuss it.
We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement here in the building, please, if you can. So y'all can stand to your feet. Before I make the announcement, I also want to say that my request to you is that you will continue to come to church and serve and give for the next, little bit. 'Cause I don't want to I'm taking a little bit of a break and I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break may be a few days, a few weeks. I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And yeah, it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina. And we're going to have a funeral for her next Sunday here at 3 p.m. And so it's all I can, I'm just kind of going on adrenaline right now. So y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. And y'all knew that she wasn't well mentally, and that she needed her medicine that was hard to get to her. And so I'm sure there'll be more details to come, but just keep our family in your prayers. And I'm going to let Pastor Randall, my bishop, he can pray. I'll get him a microphone, he'll pray out. And if you have anything you want to share as well, I appreciate it.
Come on, let's pray.
Okay, so this is the protest that happened outside the church. We'll talk about that yesterday, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
So that's
the takeaways from that.
I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in that place.
Yeah. Keep in mind how he also prefaces it with, let's not talk about this after we leave.
Yeah.
I,
Let them know ahead of time. Hey, I don't want to hear about this. We're not going to talk about it. Even though every church I've ever gone to would always tell you how you needed to talk about things. Things needed to be discussed. Dropping this on them at the end of the sermon, when he could have turned that sermon, if he had to do it, into something that was such a celebration
of life, of course,
his
absolutely,
wife's life,
the entire thing,
and help others that may have allegedly been struggling with the same things she did. Self-induced. Yeah, self-induced. Just found out. But yeah, he's able to go in there and be the charismatic showman for an hour or whatever it took to do what he needed to do.
Shocked Susie. They did. I think
There was a lady. There was a lady. If you go back and watch it, there's a lady when he announces it, she does like this, like, "Oh my God, oh
yeah." Paula, that's another thing that there are some allegations about him wanting to quickly get her cremated, which obviously is a red flag as well. There's been talk about moving that forward very quickly. So that right there, which by the way was quickly taken down off of the internet. Of course, everybody's got it.
yes, thank you." We actually used that off of I believe it's Fitz News, Fitz FITS News on YouTube. Thank you for allowing us to use that. Please, if you want to credit them for that.
So that was at the end of his sermon the other day. It's been taken down. So also has there's some conflicting reports. The church is not permanently closed as it tells you on Google. It'll show you that it is permanently closed.
It'll tell if you go to the website says it's been suspended.
The website literally says suspended, something that just came out a couple of hours ago. The Solid Rock pastor has been released in a way. He's been released of his duties there. Suspended, kind of like the website, though. Doesn't say that he's axed, and say he's out, doesn't say, but
there's more.
There is.
Now, on the surface, that's already strange. That's already one of those things that is, okay, wow, that's weird. Why, again, are people, we got people protesting. We got people thinking that something's wrong. Well, it's because the pastor has a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
That's them together at a McDonald's, and maybe, I don't know, some sort of Arby's. I don't know. Maybe it was a Burger King. Who knows?
No idea. But keep in mind, this is within a couple of days.
This is within the last week that they have been out together.
Mm-hmm.
This is her. This is Susie Skinner, who was also a person that went to their church.
Mm-hmm.
That was known in the area because of her husband. Now, Susie's husband, Chris Skinner, was a paraplegic from a car accident that he was involved in 20-some years ago. And it's really strange. I mean, it's awful. It's god awful the way that the man passed. It's kind of strange. Again, he's a paraplegic and he drowned in a swimming pool.
So obviously that raised concerns. That is saying the girlfriend, allegedly, that he has been seen out and about with. That's not the only one, by the way. There was a couple others where they were over at the Coastal Grand Mall, and
a lot of allegations going on as far as I go. And again, a lot of alleged things. But here,
real quick, that's also part of that too, is where he says, continue to come, continue to give, continue while he takes a little break. That just doesn't sit right when you sit up there and and say that. But so now this is the news story we're going to see about the alleged girlfriend's husband for a couple of years ago. I believe this happened.
I think 2 years ago, maybe 3 at this point. But yeah, we'll go ahead and watch it and you'll get an idea what we're talking about.
More about the man who died after being found unresponsive in an Horry County pool. The victim was 40-year-old Christopher Skinner, a paraplegic and a motivational speaker. WNBF News first reported on Skinner in 2015 when he spoke to high school students about the dangers of driving while intoxicated. He was paralyzed 20 years ago while a passenger in a car with a drunk driver. Skinner's drowning has been ruled accidental. For more on his work, you can find this story on the front page of WNBFnews.com.
Now, there's a huge thing on their website, the church's website, which is gone now. We can't see it. That had a whole write-up about her, about Susie, and how you know, she's been through all this adversity, and her husband. Now, her husband was at it's a community pool, is my understanding. It's not.
Was it not at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning, something like that?
There's some weird circumstances around that.
Right.
A pool that he had been to 1 billion times over the last 20 years is my understanding. They used to go there together all the time, whatnot.
I think I read that paraplegics can swim also.
Well, I think I had read the one thing was that he's strapped in his chair. You know, the whole thing went in, chair and all.
Right. I also read, and again, this is bullshit on the internet. Keep in mind, a lot of some of this stuff that we're throwing out there like this, that there are very easy ways to control certain types of wheelchairs remotely also.
So here's the thing. We are not making any kind of allegations about anybody. These are all alleged possibilities. These are all things, again, nothing was ever made of his death because he's a paraplegic. He fell in the pool. He's drowned.
Heather, I'm not sure about that, to be completely honest with you.
He'd been that way for 20 years. So I don't know how long exactly they had been together. But this is something that happened when he was in a car accident, when there was a drunk driver involved.
Right. Oh, that's right. Because he was also, he also spoke out about that. He was a motivational speaker, did a lot of good.
A lot of really good stuff in the community. And so they were tied kind of to the church as well.
Right. So we've got that. I want to run through a timeline of some stuff about old JP, the pastor. And talk about that. One thing that I don't want to get into at the moment, but I think that it's something that we should throw out there as part of all of this, and part of, because I see a lot of you were asking about how long John Paul and Mica were together. I'm not sure. It's quite a while. I know that they've been separated for a while. There's a strange thing in South Carolina where you can't just go and file for divorce and get divorced. It's a whole process of like a year, if I'm not mistaken.
You gotta be separated. It's kind of like North Carolina, gotta be separated for a year.
Right.
And he has children, but not with her.
Right. I think he has 5, I believe. Again, this is a lot of reading, a lot of watching videos. This is a deep dive rabbit hole that I went on all weekend long.
And then he drugged me down into it. Now we're just going to drag all of you down with us.
Right. And same with the wife and the wife's sister, whole thing. But really all of America is really getting on this now. Like I said, lots of other news, big time news agencies are on it, including Good Morning America this morning. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. And again, like we said, lots of twists and turns, lots of craziness. We didn't even say anything about the alleged grooming from JP meeting Mica back when she was 14 or 15 years old in a youth group involved with the church. I don't know a whole lot about that.
There's a lot of stuff that's going to come out that we're going to wait until it does get a little more, feet underneath it, so to say.
And one part of that, I'm glad you just said that. One part of that is his dad. JP's dad doesn't have the best track record. Federal indictments against him. There was some craziness that happened over in Pakistan. There is a Bible, I don't remember exactly what it's called, that he owns. Is it a Bible school? pool that he owns in Myrtle. I don't remember exactly, but I will say this. He was indicted on some charges federally. There was, as somebody that lived in Myrtle Beach for a very long time, I remember hearing about this case, and I remember it being on the news a lot about him and the treatment of J1 students. J1 students come over, they're international students that come over to work at seasonal resort areas. They do it in Disney. They have them in Tennessee, all over America, at, like, we'll say, seasonal destinations. A lot of them are Carowinds also. The J1 visa people come in and are promised a job, promised room and board, promised food. And in Myrtle Beach alone, there was some really big stories about the treatment of J1 students. Them being in small hotel rooms, 8, 10, 12 of them at a time, not having just ridiculous work hours, ridiculous housing. He had a lot to do with that, allegedly. And there's a lot on his dad that I'm not even going to mention. But if you guys do a little bit of digging,
It won't be that hard to find.
it's not that hard to find some very, very sickening and disgusting alleged things that were happening with his father. We'll say that. Another quick thing I want to circle back to about John Paul before we get into this. He has been open about it. He has talked about it. He is no saint, dating back quite a while. He's got a bit of a rap sheet on him. He has talked about him. It's not a complete secret about the things that he's been arrested for or been called into court for. Some of them could match up with a lot of the alleged allegations. So we'll say that. If that, you know, so we'll see.
And this is getting a lot of traction again from her family and her friends, especially with their concerns about the things they know. And who would know more than her family and friends? You know, otherwise, you know, we're just speculating from the outside. But these are people who are bringing these secrets to light.
I apologize if I've missed some of your chats, and that there's a lot that we want to cover, and we want to do it in a timely manner. If you don't mind, Mikey, if we can do this timeline, give a little bit of an idea of some of these sermons, get a little bit of idea about Pastor John Paul as well. And we're going back to February 4th, where he preaches a sermon on Korah and Moses and how it's wrong to rise against religious leaders. February 23rd, files for spousal support. February 25th, in another sermon to his congregation, Pastor John Paul says a mentally ill person doesn't know that they're sick. You have to trust the people. You have to trust people around you. The thing that's sick is your mind, and your mind is what you need to realize that you're sick. On March 10th, preaches a sermon and reveals that he went through 2 years of messages on his wife's phone. He found that 18 people reached out saying to her, if you ever want to talk about your husband, you can talk to me and I'll keep it confidential. Visibly upset, the pastor followed up with, that's a demon talking. Also on March 10th, says to his congregation, one thing I'm going to preach about is getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus, all while wearing his wedding ring. It's back on March 10th. He also tells the congregation that his wife was in the hospital, and as soon as she gets out, she left him. She gets out and she just leaves, just completely leaves me, he says. Leaves everything, drains the bank account, and just goes. Guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids to be able to be fed. By the way, one thing that was near and dear to Mica's heart from everything that I've seen is she just got back from a trip for Africa not long ago, and that was her plan, is to build a school in Africa. And he kind of swooped in and took that. That one doesn't sit right at all. March 12th, day before Creed's birthday, by the way, Pastor John Paul requests for spousal support to be dismissed. There's no explanation as to why. On March 17th, tells the story of a pastor whose wife left him for a member of his staff. The pastor had to hire a third-party company to find her. Once he found her, divorce papers were drawn up. When the time came to sign the papers, the pastor couldn't do it because Bible says divorce is wrong. And if she wanted out, she would have to leave him. In a Facebook post on March 17th made by Mica's sister, Sierra Francis, which we'll hear from later in that sworn affidavit about some curious facts about this case, says that she keeps an eye on her phone for fear of my sister's safety due to others' behaviors towards her. She goes on to mention the sermon from March 17th and calls out the congregation of Solid Rock Church. Mica posts a video encouraging others on March 18th. She says, I'm just making sure my heart doesn't have any unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, just forgiveness and hope for the future and peace. On the 22nd, she posts another video suggesting that she was being abused physically and mentally. She kind of throws out a few hints in her videos. Again, very easy to find on the internet. Lots on TikTok and on YouTube as well, and on Facebook. And those are interesting to watch. And sad.
Very sad.
She also says God hates divorce, but how does God feel about abuse? She also suggests her husband forced her to take illegal drugs. On April 16th, Mica files for spousal support. On April 23rd, a hearing notice was sent out for Mica's request. A court date for June 5th was set. April 27th. So we were wrong. It was the day before we thought it was. April 27th, Mica was found deceased. April 28th is when John Paul announces to his congregation the video that we just saw at the end of the service, that his wife was dead and it was self-induced. He also reminds the congregation of her mental illness. Mica's sister on April 28th, just a few days ago, posts on Facebook saying, don't listen to the false stories being told about her. May 2nd, in an interview with ABC 15, Pastor John Paul Miller says that is also the video that we just watched first. She was probably the greatest wife anyone could ask for. He also once again points out her mental illness. So that's a bit of a timeline to give you an idea and a little look into Pastor John Paul.
And like we're saying, you know, these are all alleged things that we're talking about. Some of these are absolute facts, like Creed was running down the timeline of things that happened. And especially when you've got the person's family right away stepping up and saying, hey, the narrative you're being given right now should not be believed.
This is a post from their Facebook.
We say there.
JP and Mica had their own Facebook together.
Okay.
And it was at this computer place in Myrtle Beach. And this is just kind of.
So he is there talking about this computer place.
Yeah. And this was, I'm not sure. I think that this was way back. This was not like just super recent. This was a bit back. Hashtag pornography. Men, please bring your devices to this computer store in Myrtle Beach for $25. You will never be able to look at anything that could A, destroy your destiny, B, destroy your marriage and sex life, or destroy your mind. Why? Okay, so from what I understand, are they putting like a kid blocker on your phone?
Well, remember we learned about the video where they would put a program you could put on your computer that would alert people, like your accountability buddies. It could be your wife, your friend, or whatever. It would instantly alert you that, hey, they're watching this, something they're not supposed to. And then you can confront them about it. And that was done through a religious type situation.
You're right. We did watch that. Which is interesting. Goes on to say, wives, you must be incredibly giving and encouraging and never reject or deny your husband. David
sounds like he's talking about the sex.
Oh, absolutely. David, Samson, Solomon all struggled in this area. No matter how spiritual or strong or wise a man is, this is a battle that the enemy knows could ruin his life forever. Thank you to all the wives who are willing to help their husbands and to be overcomers and winners in life and in the bedroom. Thank you, Mica J.P. Miller, for always being so giving.
I mean, again, I think that's overstepping your bounds a little bit, and it sounds very like the husband, very Stone Age-ish situation where like a woman will succumb to their husband. That's something else that we're going to talk about, the paperwork being served.
It wasn't so much the divorce papers, though, if I'm not mistaken. The 2 days prior were actually papers that had something to do with.
See, I'd heard it was separation papers. I'd heard it was divorce papers. Right. And obviously, too, there was a question that he felt like the officer had allegedly said that he thought that the pastor was shocked by it because he's like, oh, divorce is terrible. Divorce is a thing that can't happen. But he wasn't doing anything to stop it from happening or anything to save his marriage when he's out already frolicking with women's folks.
The church, by the way, is not closed. They were open yesterday. The brief video that we saw of the protest, I hate calling that because it's not really a protest.
Yeah, it makes it sound like it's
I know
nasty.
But while that was happening, they were having church. There was church. But very quickly, I do want to point out, and this is where it all began with me, is with this dude. Oh, there it is. This dude right here, Jonathan Lee Riches, JLR Investigates on YouTube.
And his link is down below. You can see it in the description.
This is his channel. He did a video kind of with some details about what's happening. Later that night, he hops in a vehicle, drives 9 or 10 hours to Myrtle Beach to be boots on the ground. He got the video of the protest that was happening and some other things that we'll talk about a little bit. Did you have a clip? Did you want to?
Yeah, I have a clip of him. So let me talk about this real fast. Now, we talked about the church and everything, but the big news about that is that church is moving. They have acquired a huge, massive parcel of land where the new church is going to go.
Did you see it?
Money, oh son, is it money?
So there's some rumors about what was going to happen with the other church. They're definitely moving over to another one. There were some people that said that they're going to pass it on to JP's father. This parcel of the land, you guys, is on 17. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's got to be worth multi-millions.
I can't imagine.
Millions of dollars.
I cannot imagine.
Now you got to remember, right across the street is the neighborhood where he lives. The pastor JP lives across the way. So to give you an idea how valuable this land is, he's not living in a 2-bedroom apartment now.
No, he's living in
it's a huge, nice neighborhood across the way.
One thing I like about this dude, and that he's boots on the ground in Myrtle right now. He has went up to Lumberton to check out everything there. What he's looking for, too, is where there are surveillance cameras and different cameras around. He also did a drive-by of JP's house also, and kind of got an idea of where there are surveillance cameras there as well. Listen, when you're investigating something, that is very, very important. I think back, I was telling you about this earlier, Mikey, the Heather Elvis case that went on. Excuse me for a moment. The Heather Elvis case that was going on is right in this area, by the way. The Heather Elvis case was a big deal. The main area, like where they found Heather Elvis's car, was in Socastee. The 2 people that are in prison right now because of that, all of that, lived in Socastee as well, which is a very interesting thing within itself. But I was telling you, one really big thing is there were surveillance cameras, they're not surveillance cameras, but people's cameras along a road and caught, them driving towards where the car was found. So that can be a very big thing in a case. That's what I'm trying to say, and I like how he did that.
Now, this state park, I know little to none about it, except for some of the very vague things I know. I don't know if there's there's got to be some sort of park rangers of some sort or somebody that
It's
are
a
there
state-
watching the park. If it's a state park, it's got to have cameras somewhere.
And do you not have to pay to get into state parks in South Carolina? I'm pretty sure you do. And North Carolina. State park usually.
I don't know. There's a lot, again, moving parts.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the where the new church is going, over here, the JLR Investigates. So they're there, like Creed said, boots on the ground, and he is there at the site of the new church that's going to be built.
Yeah. This is after he did the live of the protest, and after he did also the one that happened down on the beach, which was very nice with some family. And that was I guess you call it a vigil. And keep in mind, just after that one happened, there was one that was done over at the church, also done by him. I just remembered one very important thing that we did not get to, and that is that old pastor there did a obituary that was very off-putting. The obituary was very self-serving of himself.
It was wrote basically to talk about how great she thought he was.
Yes, exactly. And that does not make it look good at all. And I forgot we did not mention that. And that was another piece of the puzzle that throws up some red flags and gets some people thinking different.
So with him there looking at this huge, massive new home of the church that's going to be moving there in the next year, he gets a visitor.
At JLR Investigates. So if you guys want to go to Twitter, I've been posting about this case, but here it is. Here it is. And I'll turn it to the side. I'll turn the volume up. There he is. There's his truck.
JP shows up. And you say, is that really him? There he is.
People, hey, sir. A lot of people want to know if you murdered your wife.
And he pulls off. Now, one thing.
This is Pastor John Paul Miller right here. This is Pastor
Just parked on the side of the road, you guys.
Yeah.
Checking out that giant lot.
He saw somebody over there, and remember, he lives across the way. So he come over there to see what was going on. Who was over there messing around the future home of this church? If this was just the only part of it right here, that's still huge. But wait till you see the massive piece of land here that has been cleared off for this future complex, I'm guessing.
By the way, when he opened up the door, he told JLR to turn off the camera, and then he quickly closed it.
When he brought the camera back up.
And then turned it off.
I see him pointing across the way. That's where the pastor lives over in, I'm sure, a beautiful gated community.
He was definitely straight to the point asking what he did.
And he just bailed out.
Look at that. Look at that land. That land is cleared all the way down there.
Prime property. Off a very busy highway.
Look at all that land.
Well, they had lots of money.
Was the pastor, and he told me to put the camera down. I was going to come here and do a report because the church, the Solid Rock Church, they bought all this land here, and they're going to move their church to this location here. They have another church, which is about a few miles away. Mica Miller, his wife, that truck that you just saw, that belongs to John Paul Miller. That was John Paul Miller in the truck. He opened the door. I don't know if you saw him on this video here, but he just bailed out. And I asked him, did you murder your wife? And he bailed out. Now it's the pastor Mica Miller. He says that Mica Miller was found with a gunshot wound to her head. People are saying no. There was a massive protest outside the church. But look at this area. Look at this area. And the pastor lives in the development
Millions.
across from here. It's on this Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, major highway right here. I don't know the name of the highway offhand.
Highway 17.
What in the world is going on here? Interesting.
So-
JLR Investigates out on the scene. You know what?
I was trying to be nice. You heard me kind of go with a soft tone. I would have went soft tone on him. I wouldn't went like, hey, what did you do with your wife? And I didn't say, hey, did you murder your wife?
I'd have freaked out, so he did a good job.
People say that you murdered your wife. But I went very politely, hey, hello, hey. And boom, closed the door. So I didn't really even get a question in with the door open. He just immediately closed.
Yeah, he did.
So listen, boots on the ground. Good for him catching what he has caught so far and done what he's done. I don't know a lot about him. Like I said, first video I saw was his setting up video. I'm guessing that he's down in Florida area. I don't know, 8 to 10 hours, 9 hours. He said up. South Carolina's up. I just wanted to throw this out there too, that this person posted this yesterday. Keep in mind, yesterday, everything happened yesterday as far as the protest, the 2 vigils, one on the beach with the family, and then the one with him at the church. And then I guess in the midst of all of that, this was posted. Mr. Miller, you are a sick SOB. Your wife's funeral just got over and you're sitting at my bar drinking with a smile on your face like nothing ever happened. By the way, this person also legit came with the receipts.
Make it a little bigger, can you?
I can't, unfortunately. That is his name right there, his signature. That is the receipts, the merchant copy. Unfortunately, the way that I shared these, I can't.
Did it say how much you spent or how much you tipped?
$13.38, so about a $6.60 tip. I see. No, tip $7. Take that back. $7.
Oh,
$7.
the Lord's number 7.
Lord's number 7. Yes. There you go.
Wow.
But him pulling up like that, nobody's seen him, by the way, at church yesterday. I don't think his truck was seen or him. One thing that he did catch during the protest were some guys standing off to the side of the church. It looked to be security. We weren't sure who it was. Lots of people said that it was John Paul's dad standing there in one of the shots, which is pretty interesting.
The stuff from the sister now, that again, it's
I'll tell you what,
a family knows.
you give me 3 minutes and we'll jump into that affidavit and look
Okay.
at that real quick. Give me
Go
just a moment. I'm going to run out really quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, great. 3 minutes of Mikey.
I'll put up the protest video because we didn't see much of that. If you got a little bit of that.
Yeah, I got a little bit of it. All right, so yeah, the protest video. Again, this is all alleged that there's foul play involved. Obviously, her family and friends feel like this was completely outside of her behavior. Now, not saying she didn't struggle. Lord knows we all do. But at the same time, it makes you wonder and worry that if there was something going on, that there may be information out there that needs to come out, information that needs to be brought to light. And it seems like now, slowly, this is. I don't feel like that this is going to be over with tomorrow. I really don't. This is something that I think is going to be ongoing for quite some time. You see, there's a nice turnout. Again, we don't want to call it a protest, but they're looking for justice for Mica. The family is feeling, the friends are feeling that this was not as it seems. And it does no favors to Pastor JP either, that he's out with a girlfriend. He's acting the way he acted in the video that we saw during the end of service that Sunday. A rally. There we go. A rally celebrating the life and looking for justice in their eyes for their friend, their family member, and a huge part of that church until she left. That's a good crowd. That's a good crowd.
I like that rally a lot more than protest.
Yeah, rally is a way better word than to talk about it. But again, let's not let any of the salacious details, any of the scandal that may be there ready to rear its head, take away from the fact that this young, very young lady,
30, I believe she was,
is not here anymore. And her family want answers.
Uranium. Thank you for pointing that out, because you're absolutely right. Listen, Robinson County has, as far as I know, released almost nothing. There is this dude, Cody.
And depending on where you're from, you call it Robeson.
Robeson. Yeah, it's always been Robinson in the news and most of it anyways. Either way. Cody is he is a known reporter. He has some ins there, we'll say. He has basically confirmed but not confirmed, because he can't confirm his sources. The reason why, there's only so many people that showed up to that scene, and he can out them very, very easily if he even gives anybody a little bit of it. So anyways, so again, this is rumors at this point on the internet. There has not been, as far as I know, anything out of the county, as far as a statement, other than it has not been ruled an unaliving. We say that because YouTube does not like those words. And that there is an investigation. Now, there has been rumblings and talks about, again, I hate to say this because, again, family, and this is just such a horrible case. These are facts that need to be talked about. Was it through the front? Was it through the back? Nobody knows. And that could be a big deciding factor. Was there a 911 call? Cody says there was, and he confirms it. But again, everybody else, not too sure about what that phone call was all about. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But the 911 call was right before this happened. There's also I don't want to dive too deep into the things that aren't factual. The stuff that's just out there in the internet for everybody to see. I don't want to dive too deep into that. But there was a post by a man that was at that state park that a lot of people say was the person that heard a gunshot, heard a girl weeping, went to check out what was going on, and found her phone and purse and a few other things. And he put up a post. Is it him? Again, it's the internet. So there's a lot of stuff that you got. When you guys do your own rabbit hole investigation of this, keep in mind a lot of the posts that you see, you got to really watch out. There was this one that was supposedly Susie, JP's girlfriend, that we saw a picture of, talking about that, well, as a friend, I wanted to go out and console him, fellowship, church stuff. Can you, a lot of TikTok people are going to do TikToks and say, oh, that's her. That's definitely, you got to watch that when you go through all of this. There's that. Now,
lead investigator Mikey on the scene. Now, this is very, we talk about facts. We talk about, hard evidence. This is one of those things that has come to light.
I don't want to go through and read every single bit of this. This is from Mica's sister, Sierra Francis.
Who we've alluded to there in the timeline.
Right. This is an affidavit in support of application for appointment of special administration. So keep in mind, these are some factual things. I'm going to point out two things out of this. You can find this very easily on the internet. If you want to read it yourself, you can pause the video when we're done and go through these. I'll show you each of the pages. I want to go down to number 8 here. Mica confided in me that Mr. Miller was moving assets that were in his name, such as his vehicle, changing the deed to their house to the church, transferring interest in Crocodile Rocks to one of his sons. That I find interesting. Crocodile Rocks is a very cool dueling piano
We've talked about a bunch of times here on the show.
It's actually a pretty neat bar at club at in Myrtle Beach at Broadway at the beach. It's been there for a couple decades. It's I didn't know he had any invested interest in it. Well, now his son does. There's a lot of information on here from the sister. Okay. This right here is some of the most damning things. It's so sad to read number 14. Mica stated to me on many occasions, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me. It was JP. And that is, again, from the sister in a sworn affidavit that was done on the 2nd of May, so just 4 days ago. Which is absolutely crazy. So
again, like we say, this is a storm that's just building and back building right now before things happen. That's why we wanted to bring it to you kind of early on. Again, being careful with what we say. Everything, is alleged other than the facts that are known as far as the death and that kind of thing. Their marriage, his relationship outside of the marriage, and a lot more that I'm sure is going to come out.
No, Katie and I know. The pastor had an invested interest in a club.
Yeah. So, if he's out giving away his stuff and moving stuff around, you can make your own assumptions about that.
Yeah. This is a article that was just posted a couple of hours ago. I was trying to see if there's anything new that was thrown out there. Also want to kind of backtrack just to see if did we there's just so much to it, you guys, and it's
not often do we make lists over here of things we need to make sure we touch on
or be this prepared for something. I'll be honest, there's a fine line too with all of this where there are some wild, and I mean wild allegations that I sent Mikey.
If the stuff that I read yesterday becomes public, and when I say public, is acknowledged as allegedly happening, boy, oh boy, we will be doing a lot more about this. And basically, we wanted to do this to bring awareness, not only to people who are struggling with possibly thinking of harming themselves, not only to bring awareness to that, which should be brought to the forefront each and every day of giving people support that need it, but as well as bringing awareness of this life that is gone far too soon. A very, from all accounts, loving, giving person who was out there to help others and couldn't get the help she needed, maybe at the time she needed it most, or she was taken advantage of by people she trusted. I don't know. These are all alleged things. As more comes out about it, we'll cover more. But we want you guys to be aware of it, to know, to get out there, find details for yourself, make your own decision. We're not sitting here to vilify anyone, but yet to bring these things to light.
And it's a very interesting case. Like we said, there's so many different things happening, a lot of different alleged things. When you guys dig into this, just again, remember, it's breaking. Things are happening quick. Don't believe every single thing that you read.
No.
Do not believe it until yeah, it's a very, very pretty girl.
Oh my gosh.
No doubt
yes.
about that. She's a very good singer too. I saw some videos of them there's lots of videos from him and his sermons that if you want to dig into, they give you a real good idea of what kind of person well JP is. These are the videos we were talking about that she has put up of herself, and lots of TikToks make it over to Facebook also. Those of you who are not super into social media and such, if you really want to keep up to date, if you just search whether on this or hell, you can even Google it. Hashtag Mica Miller, hashtag justice for Mica, or hashtag justice for Mica Miller, justice for Mica. All three of those will bring up some stuff, and you can actually do a search on mobile anyways to the latest updates as well, just to give you an idea.
Yeah,
if you want to follow it.
And like I said at the beginning, the thumbnail says the pastor and the problem. The problem isn't Micah. The problem is all these questions that are going to be brought forward in time to just try and get it all figured out.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the family's going through. You guys will notice that there's a lot of friends and family that have also shared lots of texts and lots of like Facebook messages that they've had, conversations that they've had with Micah in the last not too long. You can read through those and you can get a very good sense of how much of a beautiful human being she seemed to be, and also somebody that was going through a lot of the family, a lot of the friends, I should say, that seem to be very close to her. They have posted a lot of info about a lot of the struggles that she allegedly had gone through. There are a lot of information about her being stalked. There's a lot of information about her tires being slashed. There's a lot of alleged things that happened. And again, you guys very easily can find that. It's very interesting.
We're not here to sway anyone. We're here to give you just what we know, give you a little bit of our thoughts and insight, and let you make your own decisions about what you think's going on, what's happened, and where we're headed next. So hopefully this is maybe going to give us a little bit of a launching pad into what is next. We'll all keep an eye on it. And when there's more stuff for us to go off of, we'll be back to talk about this again.
But I think that I think that that's a good place.
It's a good stopping point. Yeah,
it's a good stopping point. Like I said, there's that fine line, and you guys just keep that in mind. And again, is every minute almost there's some stuff being shared. It's gaining a lot of traction, and it's all in the beginning. So it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. And
oh, by the way, we also would love to invite anyone involved with this case that might want to come on and talk about it. We welcome it. We would love to have anybody, and I mean anybody that is involved in any way, shape, or form. We would give you a forum to come out and say anything you needed to. If you want to set the record straight, if you want to correct us on anything we've said here, we would welcome you to come on with open arms. Bring your attorney, bring anything you want. Just come on. Let's do it.
Something interesting that my wife had pointed out, because this has a lot to do with the investigation. It depends on what they say up in Robeson County. Whether they rule it a unaliving or they rule it anything, the family still has a chance to go civilly, I believe this would be the word, after JP and the alleged stuff there. So very interesting. I'm glad that we did this. True crime stuff has always been interesting to me. This one hits close to home because I spent a lot of time living in that area. Very, very close. Less than a mile away from my old house in Myrtle is where the church is. And I don't know. It's a very, very interesting case. I appreciate you guys hanging out. It's something different from us because we do things a little different around here.
But
this is
we like to stretch our legs every once in a while and do this kind of stuff. And if you enjoyed this kind of stuff, please leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. If you want us to cover more stuff like this, we will definitely, if anything moves forward with this case, cover it. Yeah.
Bill, that's interesting. Well, it was definitely after. It was about 5 days after. It was on the 2nd. She passed on the 27th. So that's an interesting thing. Now that just popped up this morning. So there's that. Melanie, hello. Guys, again, thank you so much for joining us during something very different. And I do want to go through and I want to thank Chaos and Darkness. Gifted one over to the main channel. Sweet Tea with two to We Got a Case channel and one to the main channel. Flush, a thank you for the collection plate. I see what you did there, Kenya. 9 months of member, 7 months of member for Miracle Mama Colinoman. We just got. I saw the pictures, by the way, on Discord there.
Oh,
time in Florida. So like Rainbow Rabbit Hole. Hashtag justice for Mica and a late fee of 20. Thank you so much.
Good to see
Charles. Thanks for going. Yeah, it's a bit out of our comfort zone. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little out of our comfort zone. Thank you, Fletcher Boy, for that $5. Tin Man with a 10 for a very late fee. Make sure to go back and watch from the beginning. It's a very interesting one. Gifted one to the main channel. Fan of the year, by the way, Mayor, right there. Thank you. And last but not least, Katie9 with one that We Got a Case channel. Now, we'll be back 4:05 East, of course, for We Got a Chase today. Anything exciting?
Creed, it's always exciting during We Got a Chase. We got some a stolen school bus chase.
All right.
That I don't think many people at all have seen.
Thank you, Gary.
It doesn't have many views. As well as a premiere that's going to go on just about 45 minutes from now, and you'll be redirected to it, so don't you worry. Well, like Judge Middleton talking to a guy who's had his license suspended for 20 years. I say 20 years.
20 years. $2 from the mayor. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Obviously during this, we're not going to sit there and
we're not yucking it up for you. We're showing you our more serious side and see what you think. But yeah, we'll be back again tomorrow with another day of it all. Take care, guys.